Next, a heavyweight fight between Dustin Joynson and Chris Catala. Now, Dustin Joynson's had a very tough time finding fights, Elias.
Yes, but he has one here tonight where he's going to take on a very gamed opponent who's learned from his last defeat and ready to take it to him.
It's Chris Catala versus Dustin Joynson next.
Meu nome é Chris Catala, eu vim de Bauru, São Paulo.
My name is Dustin Joynson. I'm a mixed martial artist out of Victoria, BC.
Eu sou faixa preta de jiu-jitsu segundo grau, de Jorge Patino Macaco, treino Muay Thai e boxe.
Got into martial arts as a kid, starting with traditional Kung Fu, and then switched over to mixed martial arts around the age of 19, 20.
Eu vou tentar controlar bem o octagon, vou tentar ser bem agressivo e quando for finalizar a luta, tanto no chão quanto em pé, de jeito bem agressivo para sair com a mão erguida.
My background would be striking initially, I guess, but I've adapted jiu-jitsu very well into my game.
Eu vim do Brasil, são 17 horas de voo, vim de longe, mas eu vim bem treinado, espero que meu oponente esteja bem treinado também para a gente poder fazer grande show.
When I step into the ring, look out for my kicks. You won't see them coming. It's gonna end the first round by TKO.
Meu oponente se chama Dustin, eu sei que ele é cara mais alto, mais novo, que tem o estilo também de lutar bem no chão, então vai ser uma grande luta.
This Hard Knocks fight is a professional bout in the heavyweight division and is brought to you by Calgary Clarion Hotel and Conference Center. And now, let's meet the fighters. In the blue corner for Calgary Clarion Hotel and Conference Center, he's 2-3 as a professional, 38 years old, and stands 6 feet, 4 inches tall. He weighed in at 233.5 pounds. Fighting out of Chris Goldteam from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Chris Catala. And in the red corner for RA Muscle Power, he's 1-0 as a professional, 31 years old, and stands 6 feet, 5 inches tall. He weighed in at 232.5 pounds. Fighting out of Zuma from Victoria, British Columbia. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Dustin Joynson. This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Luc Boutin.
Luc Boutin will be our referee as Dustin Joynson steps in against Chris Catala. Joynson with just one fight on his record, that a 58-second knockout in his pro debut. On the other side of the cage, Chris Catala will look to prove that he's got old man strength as the 38-year-old looks to fight and improve his 2-3 record.
It's going to be really interesting to see what Dustin comes out being the one that hasn't fought in a very long time. He needs to aggressively,
A spinning head kick there from Dustin Joynson after the first head kick didn't connect, and now a kick to the midsection. Joynson looking to use those long limbs.
Expect the unexpected, one might say.
Catala now coming forward and landing big punches to the midsection of Dustin Joynson.
Yes, both men are at this moment are trying to put their pace on each other, their will on each other. In many ways, even though you have Chris Catala against the cage, he's uppercutting, he's hooking in the body of the opponent, Dustin, who has still Chris Catala against the cage. It's really going to be interesting to see what they do from here. Who's going to be trying to advance the position? In many ways, they're in what's called a 50-50. Both are getting pieces off of each other, but they're about even in regards to who's in a stronger place. Obviously, Chris Catala against the cage, that is a deficit against them.
Yeah, it's one of the things the judges here in Calgary especially seem to look at. If you've got that position up against the cage and you're trading blows, the cage control of holding your opponent where you want him as opposed to your opponent being where they want to be certainly plays into it when both fighters are getting equal strikes against the cage, which they have been so far.
Yes, and the other interesting thing is there's a false security, a false sensehood of safety in regards to if you have that almost third leg propping you up. Chris Catala is allowing himself maybe to hang around there.
Joynson and Catala both throwing knees up against the cage, colliding with furiosity as they continue to fight here. And now another knee, and it just looks like Joynson's trying to take away the power base of Catala. If you can't stand on your legs, you can't step into your punches, you can't throw that weight, and those knees are going to start to add up, and Catala maybe calling for a low blow there, but referee unable to see it. With the volume of knees going back and forth, it wouldn't have surprised me if either one of these guys had taken a shot there.
Yeah, it did see from both of our vantage points that it did happen, but if the ref doesn't see it, it doesn't happen.
So again, Joynson trying to create space up against the cage. Catala been very effective in the clinch here and keeping the space. Again, both guys over 6'4", and not a real height difference between them, which is unusual for both of them. Normally when you're fighting, you're not fighting a guy that's 6'5" across the cage. Even finding training partners has got to be tough. But a nice takedown there from Joynson, and even a simple takedown when you've got a guy that weighs 240 pounds landing on top of you, it's got to hurt a little more.
Yes, Chris Catala needs to not allow him to establish a position like that. He needs to get against the cage and use the same safety mechanism to allow you to get up. That is a propping opportunity. In many ways, the cage is your home. Like I said, it's almost like a third leg, allowing you to get up and post up from it.
Dustin Joynson on top of Chris Catala now, having taken him to the ground, and Johnson doing a good job of staying busy, staying active. Catala a decent job of defending, but again, this is what we talked about with position, and position adding up to everything, and that was a solid elbow just a moment ago.
Yes, Dustin needs to posture up. He obviously has the space. There it goes. And Chris Catala needs to get against the cage or hold him down. He needs to get some space. He's trying to attack for something, but in many ways, I think it's all the way in or all the way out. There's no in between. It's that middle ground that's going to get you basically chipped away, and with a heavy weight on top of you, it's going to suck.
Yeah, Joynson now again posturing up, landing punches. You can hear advice coming from the corner of Chris Catala, who lands a nice elbow from the bottom. A little bit of a forearm shiver there, answered from Dustin Joynson, now trying to walk out, and does so. Nice work from Chris Catala.
Great work from Chris Catala, using the scramble to get into position. At this point, he has the neck of his opponent, Dustin, but he needs to get away from the cage, get some space. Don't allow yourself to get kneed like that. He's getting too complacent against the cage. You're not really, like, you're almost using your knee like he's doing right now to kind of stop some of the attacks of Dustin, but in many ways, they're chipping away. It's not the first one, it's the second one. In many ways, it rings true, just like in wrestling, where it's not the shoot, it's the reshoot. Same thing with the strike. It's not the first one, it's the second one. If not the second one, it's the third.
Blood pouring from the head now of Chris Catala as we reach the end of round number one. A nice knee to the midsection, again answered immediately. An elbow from at the end of the clinch there. Dustin Joynson looks to take a round one victory over Chris Catala. So this fight will continue. Chris Catala will take a look here across the cage, and he gave his opponent both a wink and a smile, as if to let Dustin Joynson know that you might have done some damage, but you haven't ended me yet. And Chris Catala looks to come out and touch gloves with Dustin Joynson. Big smile on his face as he steps across. And Joynson will look to do more of the same here in round number two.
I really like Joyson's basically unorthodox movement, especially for a heavyweight. He's throwing teeps, he's throwing punches. In many ways now at this point, he is kind of watching, but there you go, there's the kick, and that really rocked. Oh.
And Chris Catala is down and out. Stop the clock. This fight is over.
over about 3 different times. It started with the kick, it finished with a right, I believe, or some type of shot, and then the final blow that dropped him where he stood.
What a kick from Dustin Joynson, who knocks out Chris Catala. So Chris Catala back on his feet momentarily as he suffers a knockout loss here, and we'll get a look at the replay. It was a head kick that staggered him, and then a very quick right hand, and Catala was out before that last punch happened. What a performance from that man, Dustin Joynson. He got his work done. And now for the official results, we'll head inside the cage to Jay Nance.
And now, the official decision brought to you by Calgary Clarion Hotel and Conference Center. The winner by knockout at 27 seconds of the second round in the red corner, Dustin Joynson!
Dustin, congratulations. I just have to say, you had told us that it had been a long time since you had been in the cage, about 3 years. How's it feel to be back?
My lungs are burning. I forgot how much that hurt. That feels great.
In the first round, you held him up against the cage. Talk about your reasoning for doing so.
He's a strong dude, and he was charging, and I was just trying to give myself a second to think and come up with a good game plan for him.
Now, it was the head kick that kind of just brought him out, and then it was the follow-up punch that knocked him out. What were your thoughts at that exact moment?
I thought, kick him, and then it landed. And then when I saw him drop his hands, I was like, smash him! And then I tried to go the follow-up.
Well, that worked. Okay, so you had some time off, but you're back. Are you back for good?
I'll be back, for sure. But I'm going to Disneyland! Woo! Love you, baby.
Congratulations, Dustin. Great fight.
So Dustin Joynson wins the fight.